Hello, John here, and in this video I'm just going to run over something that I found while I was digging for something else. Now, you remember this book, which was from the days of, well, my very first video, I think, where I spoke about the history of my source code, and I had put it all into, because if you notice it says volume 2 and I said there must be volume 1 somewhere. Well, remember, so I've got all this source code. So there's the machine code monitor for the 64, and carry on. Where else have we got? There's another one coming up. The extended basic and programmer's aid for the 64, and then we keep going. We've got the character generator for the Commodore 64, and so on and so on. So this was all Commodore 64 stuff. So there's a graphics extension, and then I think me assembler's in here somewhere, sprite editor. But I found this. Now this was my A-level project, and this was done, as you can see, 1985, and this was a bank account program. So it's like a checkbook program, and what you did is you put all your transactions in. It did all graphs and everything, all done on the BBC. And I've documented everything, and then in the back is a printout. Now this was written predominantly in BASIC, but let me just show you if I can find it. Here there's a machine code section, and the reason why I did that was the teacher at the time didn't know machine code, so I was told get this, I was told I wasn't allowed to write my project entirely in machine code because it couldn't be marked. So I wrote a little bit of it in machine code just to show people that I could do it, and the rest was written in BASIC. But I've also found some other programs. So this is a pool program, and this is for the Commodore 64. And what this does is, you know, a pool, which is the sort of baby version of snooker. I used to run a team back in 1990s, and my 64 ran all the stats. I've also got a pool tournament program. So this one is for when you do singles competitions and doubles competitions. And because I found them, I'm going to type them in and see what we're going to do and see if they work. But I've got to type them in because I can't find them anywhere on my archives. But the reason why I'm doing this video is, look what I found in the loft. It's a VIC20 version. So there you go, volume 1 of programs written by John Dale of Dalesoft. Now, you'll see I wrote a word processor for the VIC20. Yes. I've been looking through that listing, and even I've been saying to myself, oh my god, I was good. Now, this was actually in 3 parts. So that's part 1. There's part 2. If I carry on, part 3. Because the memory wasn't big enough to hold all the assembly, so I had to split it into 3 files, and then assembled each file in turn. And then when I'd finished assembling each file in turn, I used the VIC20 machine code monitor to save the program away into memory. But as you can see, I did extended commands for the VIC20 and carry on, and then we've got high-res graphics for the VIC20, and you know, this is so that's the shape function. But oh look, sprite function. I've even got a sprite function. How cool is that? God dear. But the thing that got me was assembler program for the VIC20 is this, and this is a Frogger game for the Commodore PET, and I clearly remember doing this and writing this, but I've been searching high and low for the discs or tapes or anything like that. I even went to my folks' home and badgered them and demanded to rummage through their loft. Couldn't find the discs or tapes anywhere. So I come across this and I thought, oh, is it all there? And sure enough, here is all the machine language for a Frogger clone from the Commodore PET. And it's not a very big program, it's a lot of pages. So it carries on, and I think that's the last page, yeah. So it carries on and carries on and carries on. Right, and the story, sorry for the camera work, I'm holding it. For the story of this was, I was doing my A levels at sixth form, and we weren't allowed to play games. We weren't allowed to play Commodore PET games or anything like that. It's banned. And so I said to my teacher, you know, can I write a program totally machine code as part of my coursework? And and blindly he went and said yeah. So what did I do? I wrote a game called Frogger, and after I wrote it, it became the most played game in the school because it was the only game they were allowed to play, because it was a game that a student had written. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this in, because I can't find it anywhere. I'm going to type it in, and we can see if we can get it to work in the emulator, and so I can show you what I did in. And I've looked at the listings, So if we look at the listing, there we go. I don't know if you can see that, and it says copyright November 1983 by Dalesoft, and that's what I used to call myself back in those days. And yeah, I was pretty proud of this little program, completely in machine code. The teacher could not understand what I had written, couldn't mark it, so I just got an A for it because he couldn't mark it. But the fact that the game and the program worked, he gave me an A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the computer, I'm going to type it in and see if it works. So I will see you probably in a couple of days, and we'll continue recording this video. Take care. Bye. Hello, John here again. It's been several days later, and I finally typed the whole thing in, and from typing it all in and relearning what I'd done, because some of it's pretty clever, and some of it I've got, why have I done, why did I do that? And there's quite a lot of why did I do that. So, but I've typed it in as it stands. I've CBM Project Studio'd it, so as you can see here with these REM statements, those REM statements were actually in the code, and I was referencing these values directly. But all what I've done now is created, I've created labels for them instead. But everything else is exactly the same. So, and like I say, in some places I've gone, wow, that was really clever when I did this, and other places I've thought, what on earth are you doing, John? Why did you do that? What did you do that for? So, I'm going to play it. I'm going to show you. Play it first, I think, because if I go through the whole source code, but it's in chunks. So, like for example, this routine is to move the boats across the screen. So we've got boats moving from left to right and boats moving from right to left, and that's what this code's doing. We've got a print score routine. We have print score, yeah. We have a print the entire score system on the screen. We have the lives information. We have the print lives information. As you can see, my labels were not very good at the time. As a teenager, I've got some data, which is basically doing the direction of the boats. So we've got stationary boats, boats moving from left to right, and boats moving from right to left. And then we've got the game start, so we initialize everything, show the instructions, and then we start the game. So we set where the initial frog location is. We set how many frogs have crossed, which is 0. We set the last character. We set the number of rows. We set what delay it is, because when I was typing this in, I was thinking, why have I got this delay number? And as it turns out, the more frogs you get across the river, the faster it goes, and the delay number is a number that decreases in value for every frog you get across. And so when you get to 5 and 6 frogs, it's really quick. And so I'll show you that, because I'll change that number and you can see. I mean, even on 30, it's pretty hard. Really hard. It's either me that's got, my reactions have got slower because I'm a lot older, or that's the hardness of games at the time and we was quite used to it. I've remembered a couple of things out, because I'm thinking to myself, why have I done this, John? Why have I done this? Makes no difference. And I thought, I'm going to rem them out. So here's the key capture routine. So it captures the key from 9F, which is peak 151 on the PET. I think on the 64 it's 197. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. And it tells you what the current key you've pressed on the keyboard. And so I store it, so because I want to remember what the last key was, because I don't want to have the double hit scenario. If I've pressed the key and it reads the same key again, that's effectively the double hit scenario. So I want to stop it from doing that. The actual delay of the move, so there's the delay number, and then so it pauses everything, and then we test the keys for left, right, and up. Up also increased, ups the score. Placing the frog, we're checking what the frog's landed on. We're doing the auto move for the cars. This is your dead dude. When I was typing this in, I was going, YRDD, what on earth that meant? And then when I put the text in, it was you're dead. And I thought, you're dead, dude. Oh, really? Again, so we're asking the question, we'll have another go. Game over, so it's the actual game over. The successful Frogger crossings, we fill the screen. Next frog, and then we start again, and basically, you know, there's the high score tester, then the instructions, and so that's it. So let's start this up. So program run. So here we are in the PET emulator. Now what I've done is I've set CBM Prod Studio to default the Commodore PET emulator to the 4032 model, because they were the models that we had at school at the time. So it was the 40 column across PET. And so here you go, there's the instructions. So it's called PET Frogger, copyright November 1983 by Dalesoft, me. All you have to do is get as many of the frogs across the river without drowning them. You have to leap onto the boats like this and land on the seat. You get 10 points for every jump forward and 500 points for every time you get a frog to cross the river. The controls are S for up, 4 for left, 6 for right. Press a key to start. Okay, so here we go. So this is the default easiest speed. Oh dear. Anyway, so as you can see, we've got the number of successful crossings, and every time you get a frog coming across, you'll see that the frog sits there. We have our score, we have the high score, and we have the number of lives left. And so these are the boats going one way and the other way. And this is me down the bottom, the frog. And of course I had to put my obligatory "this was developed by me and not my teacher" motif on it. And so if I use 4 and 6, so that's 6, that's 4. So I'm going to try and get across, see if we can get across without throwing a spanner. Right, so I've successfully crossed one river and got 30 points. Hey, right, let's see if I can do it again. There's a lot of concentration going off here. My tongue stuck out and everything. Here we go. So that's 60 points. Right, next one. Cool. And the next one. Oh! You're dead. Start at the bottom again. Here we go. Oh, come on, John. You wrote this. You should be brilliant at it. Oh dear. Right. That's one. 2, 3, 4. 5. Yay! Got one across! Yay! And as you can see, it's gone up to 800 because I've had 500 added, and I've got a frog across. So let's see if I can do another one. God, this is hard. This is. Oh, come on, John. Oh, do I want another go? Yeah. I'm looking for punishment. Anyway, so this was my first official machine 6502 machine language program for my A-level coursework. And because my teacher at the time really couldn't understand what I was writing in machine code, because we're talking 1983 here, and 1983 was the first time computer studies entered the school curriculum. I think that's how you say it. And I was late because in 1983 I was 17, so I'd gone straight. I was into computer studies in A level, and at the time I had to do the O level first, as well as the A level. But I had to do the O level in 1 year, not 2. And so I tried to use as much of my self-taught knowledge as possible in terms of programming to get the best mark that I could for my O level. And sure enough, I passed my O level with an A, and then I had a year to do my A level. But I also had done my A level while I was doing the A level course as well as the O level course. So it's very strange because one lesson I'm with the the fourth formers, because it was the first year. So I'm a sixth former in with fourth formers doing O level, yeah. But also I was doing it twice as fast as them. So my teacher was giving me homework for year 2 of the O level as well, and at the same time I was being taught A level. Now for the O level I did everything in BASIC because, you know, I couldn't really cheat and use machine code. So I took the conscious decision that I would do my A level projects in machine code. And sure enough, you know, the teacher didn't understand what I was writing, but they, as you could see, they worked. And all he could give me was top marks. You know, even I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I could have done better with this. But anyway, that digresses. So I wrote this game, which was allowed to be played at the school because I wrote it. And it was an example of how to program in machine code. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to go on GitHub, yeah. So you can see what I did back in 1983 for my A level. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to migrate it off the Commodore PET system and tart it up for the 64. And you know, so we'll colorize it, and we'll try and make the boats look like boats. We'll try and make the frog look like a frog, and stuff like that, yeah. And then we'll take it take it even further, because as you can see, all the boats are in sequence, yeah. So we might want to make the boats come out of sequence, so they're not all mesmerizing and hypnotic like they are at the moment, and basically tart it up, make it better. I mean, it's not a brilliant Frogger, but for 1983, that would have made me what, 17? Yeah, 17. So for a 17-year-old A level, I thought I did really well. The school thought I did really well. The kids thought I did really well because I left the program on the Commodore system, on the floppy disk, so they were loading it in, playing it, trying to beat the high score. I think we had a competition as well where everybody wrote the high scores up. Anyway, I digress. So going to port it over to the 64, tart it up a bit and all that. But what I'm going to do here is just to show you how quick it does get. So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the delay value, because at the moment it's set to 30, so I'm going to reduce it to 1, so you can see how fast it goes. And I'm telling you now, it is impossibly fast. Alright, so let's do that, and we'll double the size so you can see it. So here we go. Hold on to your hats, boys and girls. And it does get that fast. If you manage to get 10 across, because I've done it so you can No, I've done it so you can get it. Every time you put get a frog across, it reduces that delay number by 3. So the maximum you can get across is 10. I reduced this to 7, and I couldn't play it on 7. Like you got 7 frogs across. But as you can see, it's lightning quick, and there's still a delay in this. There's still a delay in it because it's a delay index of 1. I could make it 0 and impossibly quick, but 30 at the time when I was a kid wasn't a good number. But if let's just do that 60, because I'm an old man now and everything's slowed down. So let's do this. Let's show the world that I'm a frogger guru. Not really. Hey, that's better. That's more my speed. But what we could do is, you see, you could start it off at that speed and then still have the 10 frogs, but instead of reducing it by 6 to get to 1, you could reduce it by reduce the delay by 5. So you would end up with a final delay of 10. So if we set the delay to be 10. There we go. Set the delay to be 10. Full screen it so you can see. Right, so that would be the fastest speed that we would get. So we'd go from 60, and every time you got a frog across, it would reduce that delay by 5. So the second frog would be a delay of 55, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, which is the default by now, and then it would get quicker and quicker and quicker. And so it would hence get harder and harder and harder the more frogs you get across. So when we do the 64 when I port it to the 64, we'll add all sorts of other things in. So the harder the level, the more points you get. We could throw in other things in there, like we could add some owl sprites in there, because owls pick off frogs. Well, we could have a natural predator that's over that sky. So an owl, yeah, a bird of some sort. So when a bird comes on, you've got to move really quick to make sure you're safe, yeah, or you'll just get picked off, and that could add some more spice to the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to GitHub. You guys, have a look at it, or at the majesty of some of the code, and go and and look at the other code and go, John, really? Why did you do that? Because I was doing it when I was typing it in. Oh, my other half thought I was going mental because I was talking to myself. Anyway, so with that, so this is going to be, 2, 3, 4 videos. Don't know yet. Just to take this and try and make it better. It's a simple game, everybody loves a bit of Frogger, so why shan't we? And it shows you that I was coding on a Commodore PET as well at school, and we could try and do this on the EBAS bells. Anyway, I digress. So with that, I will say farewell for now, and like everybody else, I'm going to say it. Please like the video if you like it. If you don't like it, then fine, tick that don't like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you'd like to be a Patreon of mine, please do. And the details will be in the description. So take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye for now. I'd like to thank all the patrons that are contributing to my channel. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. Thank you very much.